98FM's Dublin Talks. Weekdays from 10 a.m.
Here's a question for every single one of you. Consider this situation. A woman's on a night out and is drinking quite a bit. Throughout the night, she knocks back about 3 bottles of wine over the whole night, or the alcohol equivalent. Now, this wouldn't be uncommon for someone out on a mad one. Anyway, she hooks up with a man and ends up back in his place and they have sex. Remember, she's consumed up to 3 bottles of wine at this stage. What's your opinion on what just happened? Was she sober enough after all that drink to consent to have sex? Is the man in this case guilty of rape? Did he take advantage of a woman who was unable to consent, given her most likely drunken state? The question is, can a woman who has had 3 bottles of wine, and we're just using that as an example, consent to sex? Well, a report came out today that has revealed the attitudes that many young people have towards consent. The majority of Irish college students believe that someone who has consumed as much as a bottle of vodka, or 14 pints of beer, or 3 bottles of wine is still able to consent to sex. The survey was carried out on Irish students who were asked about the connection between heavy drinking and the ability to give consent. The NUI Galway study of more than 3,500 students found that 67% of them believed that even after drinking 3 bottles of wine, a woman was still in a fit enough state to consent to having sex. And we want to know, what do you make of all this? Are these students way out of line? Or do you agree that a woman who's been drinking all night can still consent? Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Dave, you're on Dublin's 98FM. How are you, Dave?
All right, Adrian.
Good, thank you, Dave. Now, what's your view on this? Can somebody consent to have sex after having had 3 bottles of wine?
Right, well, I'll go back to the little analogy you just made there. What's the story with the man in the situation? Has he also been drinking?
That's a good question. He may have, he may not have.
Well, just for the sake of argument, we'll say he was drinking, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, then what's wrong with it then? They're both drunk, they both want to have sex, they both consent to have sex.
Yeah.
Do you not think this is a dangerous road we're heading down here? We're basically telling women that, like, here's another weapon in your arsenal. If you wake up the next morning after having sex with a guy and you're kind of not happy about it, and you only did it last night because you were locked, you can scream rape. And you're also telling women that they're all just potential victims. Like, where does personal responsibility come into it? Like?
Okay, so if both have been drinking, then you reckon they're on the same level, is that it?
Yeah, no, if your one is annihilated drunk and a fella is being kind of predatory about it, and that's definitely taken advantage of, yeah. But then again, if your one is still up for it, like, is it not consent? I mean, I'm happy to hear that these college students kind of hit it right on the money, like. Like, I mean, I've been hammered drunk and consented to having sex. Do you know, is it just women, or is it just women we're talking about? Do you not think this is a very, very dangerous thing? Because you had a one on there last year, and she said that she was out drinking all day, and she was with a fella, and she had sex with him, and she woke up the next morning, she felt like she'd been raped, even though she said that she had consented to it. Like, a rape accusation is a very, very serious thing, Adrian. And even if it's happened time and again where it's found out the young ones have been talking out through their arse, but it doesn't matter. That still hangs over a fella's head for the rest of his life. Okay, and the girl gets away with a scot-free.
Okay, I have seen situations where a woman has fallen out of a place absolutely twisted, and she's on some guy's arm. Could be a boyfriend, could be somebody she just met. And if that girl, who literally couldn't stand straight, goes home and has sex, is she in the right frame of mind to consent?
Oh, that's a different story. If she's paralytic drunk, she shouldn't be having sex, unless maybe she's going home with her.
This survey of students was talking about somebody having drunk 3 bottles of wine. You'd be fairly paralytic drunk on that.
Adrian, if you drank 3 bottles of wine, you'd pass out.
Yeah, but some people could drink 3 bottles of wine over a whole night.
Oh, I know, but I don't know. We're heading into very dangerous territory with this kind of stuff. Like, I mean, in fairness, like, where does personal responsibility come into it? You know, we're basically telling, like, we're going to bring up a generation of girls, telling them that they're all potential victims and that they can't look after themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I understand the argument, but like, why we're just focusing on women? What about men? What about some fella who's not in the mood to have sex, but some young one takes advantage of him because he's drunk? Is that not the same thing, or is it different just because it's men?
Okay, in theory, on paper, yes, but
Yeah.
I've never ever known of a man. Maybe he exists who would cry.
Adrian, I've known women who've done it. That they go for a fella who they know probably wouldn't like go away with them when he's sober, so they get him twisted drunk and bring him back to their house. I know young ones who've done that.
But what I was about to say, Dave, is I know of no man. Now he may exist. I know of no man who has ever cried rape after something like that.
Oh, so see this. Then we're going into this argument where it's like women cannot like sex and scream rape, but a fella likes sex because men, we're just hornballs and we like sex all the time. That's it. Do you not understand?
I do get it. I do get the...
You see the double standard here.
Absolutely. I completely get the double standards. However, I want to go back to the question, which is, can a woman consent to having sex after 3 bottles of wine?
Right. Well, my own personal opinion is, if a woman is twisted drunk and the guy is twisted drunk to have sex, happy days, fair play to him. As long as it's not like an actual case of rape where the woman says no and the guy holds her down and just does it anyway. If it's a guy who's preying on a girl because she's drunk and he knows that she's going to be easier to get home when she's drunk, well then no, that I would class that as sexual assault, yes.
Okay, stay there for a second. Okay, stay there for 1 second. Tracy, you're on 98FM. Hiya, Tracy.
Hi, Adrian.
Tracy, your point on this is, after that amount of alcohol, and we were talking about either a bottle of vodka or 3 bottles of wine or whatever, you would not be able to consent.
I wouldn't know.
No.
Like, one bottle would be enough for me, but if I had to go into second bottle, I'd be like, just fifth my bet. Do you know what I mean? So a lot
of people would.
After 3 bottles, like, you wouldn't be able to consent to anything.
So what do you make of students saying that they believe, the majority of Irish college students believe, that someone who's consumed as much as a bottle of vodka is still able to consent? Unless you've actually fallen asleep.
Well, if they're students, I wouldn't dare.
We're in the middle of a conversation, all to do with a new report, which basically says, get a load of this, it was a survey carried out on Irish students who were asked about the connection between heavy drinking and the ability to give consent. The NUI Galway study of more than 3,500 students found that 67% of them, so 2/3 of them, believe that even after drinking 3 bottles of wine, a woman is still in a fit enough state to consent to having sex. And we're asking, is it as simple as, if you're drunk, you can't consent to have sex? Because that's certainly not what students think. Students believe you can be fairly pissed and still consent. I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. And does it make a difference if both of you are drunk? Lorraine, you're on 98FM. Hi, Lorraine.
Hiya.
Lorraine, can you consent if you're drunk?
No, you can't consent. If you're absolutely legless, you can't consent. But if the person is equally as pissed and you're having a drunken whatever, well then I think it's a different story.
Okay, so here's where the danger is.
Yeah.
How do you measure that? How do you say both of us were drunk?
I don't know.
And that is
I don't know. I think pubs have a lot to do with it as well. Like, I think if they see that there's a person getting really, really pissed, that they can barely walk, they don't know their own names, then they should be stopping selling the drink.
And in a lot of cases, by law actually they're meant to, but in a lot of cases they actually do. They actually do stop serving people who are well drunk. But I don't know if you can say the onus is on the pub.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you couldn't put the blame. Obviously, you couldn't put the blame on the pub, but I don't know. It's a really hard subject. It would be a really hard subject.
But this survey of students said that 67% of them believe that even after drinking 3 bottles of wine, a woman is still in a fit enough state to consent to having sex.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, stay there for a second. 6797981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. Simon, you're on 98FM. Hi, Simon.
How you doing, Adrian?
Good, Simon. Now, what did you want to say on this?
I think women can barely hold it at all. I mean, they'd be drunk on nearly two little bottles. So how can they consent? I mean, you can't really consent to with alcohol on you, can you?
Okay, so you were telling the lads on the switch that if a man has sex with a woman who's had even less than a bottle of wine, he's a rapist?
Technically, yeah, because a man can handle it better than a woman, whereas a woman would just be...
Jeez, that's very patronising, Simon.
I know, but I think it's true though. They can't handle it at all. And plus they drink stronger drinks than men, because men are more likely to drink lager, whereas women are more than likely to drink wine, which is more alcohol in it than lager does. So, yeah.
So a guy who has sex with a woman, so he's in a club and everything's going, and they meet each other and everything's going great, and she's had a bottle of wine, and she's not too locked, but she's had a bottle of wine. You're saying she can't consent to having sex?
No, she can't. She'd be locked after the bottle of wine. She's locked off halfway through it.
But different people are affected by alcohol in different ways, depending on their metabolism, what they've had to eat, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know how you could say that a guy would be a rapist if he has sex with a woman who's had a bottle of wine.
But there's not a different measure for men than it is for women.
No, there's a different recommended weekly limit for men and women, but not... No, I mean, some women are 6 foot odd tall. Some men are 5'2" tall. I don't know how you can say that it's different for women.
Yeah, but our bodies are built differently, and women drink stronger drinks in the same way men are more likely to drink a pint of beer, which is going to be 5%, and a bottle of wine is going to be depending on the bottle, it could be 25% or something like that. Or something high.
So basically, what you're saying is a man should never have sex with a woman who's been drinking.
No, I don't think so. No, because she's really going to be able to consent to it.
Stay there for a second. 67979 981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Francis, you're on 98FM. How are you, Francis? Now, what did you want to say on this?
Well, I find the whole survey a little bit flawed because it doesn't say... It gives 30% of students thought that men that drank 28 pints were too drunk. Now, 28 pints...
Yeah, but I don't know anyone who can drink 28 pints now.
14% said, 14 pints a man would be too drunk. It's flawed in that it doesn't give any details as to how long of a period, whether they've had any...
No, I agree with all that. Yes, I agree. However, what it does say, what I get out of this survey is, of 3,500 students, 67% of them believe you can still give consent when you're pissed out of your head.
Okay. Well, let's give a scenario then that a girl has had a bottle of wine and a guy has had 14 pints. Who's more drunk? So who's more capable of giving consent? It's flawed in that it doesn't give any details into it. If a guy's been drinking 14 pints over a full day and a girl has drank a bottle of wine over 2 hours, who's more drunk? The consumption of drink is higher for the male.
Yes, but he might be much more sober.
Absolutely. So, it doesn't give details, so it's flawed, and I think it's wrong to pinpoint the male end of it. I think I've seen girls drinking their wine or Prosecco, going on to shots. I've seen fellas do it. I think the drink culture for both sexes is a little out of control, particularly when they are students, because you have the cheap drink on student night and that. So I think the whole thing is a little bit flawed, but I don't think that a guy that's had 14 pints and a girl that's had one bottle of wine, if you to say who's more capable of giving consent, I would probably say the girl is. So where do you stand there,
like I said, I accept that this is a very difficult one, but it does paint a picture that young people, even though we've been told about the difficulties of consenting when you're very drunk, young people believe that it's okay to have sex when you're pissed. That's really what this survey says.
Yeah, look, that has been the age-old argument, and you'll never change it. Young people with drink on them will always you're always going to have a majority of them that's going to have sex. Their inhibitions are lowered when you have alcohol on you.
Correct, yes.
But it doesn't mean it's rape if the girl has to do the walk of shame the next morning, or the guy. You know, it's a very broad. You know, there's no.
I understand what you're getting at, but the bottom line from this survey is that there is a mindset with young people, despite all of the warnings, despite all of the high-profile rape cases, and a lot of which have involved drink and all of that. Despite all of that, young people still believe it's okay to have sex when you're very drunk.
And yes, the majority of, I would say, a lot of the rape cases that we've heard of have been this exact scenario. You know, in last year's, the high-profile ones that went on last year. This was the exact scenario. And, you know, who had more drink taken? He said, she said. So I have a son, and my advice to him would be, don't go near a girl when you're out on a night out. It's not worth it, because it's the walk of shame that does it. You know, I think that both of them at the time, sure, we've all been young age, and, you know, it's easy to your inhibitions are down, and it's easy to do things when you have drink on you that you wouldn't normally do. And I think there's an onus, there's personal responsibility on both sides, and people are abdicating their personal responsibility.
Okay, but what Simon is saying, that the responsibility is more on men to make sure they don't have sex with women, because women can't handle their drink as well. No,
I don't agree with that. I certainly don't agree with that. I've seen women who could drink you under the table. I see it every weekend, every other weekend in the pubs. I certainly don't agree with that. And I mean, I don't think women would thank fellas for going down that road either. There's a lot that's involved in it. Your body BMI, and, you know, there's so much, whether you've eaten, whether you haven't eaten. My advice... Okay, but the key question is...
Right, that's what I was about to ask you. Yeah, your advice is don't go near a girl if she's drunk.
If she has drink on her.
Yeah.
Because how do you know, somebody is drunk on 2 drinks, somebody is drunk on 2 bottles of wine.
Okay, stay there for a second, Francis. 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. Students believe from this survey that it is okay, that it is possible to consent to having sex when you are palatic drunk. Mohammed, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Adrian.
Mohammed, good, thank you. What did you want to say on this?
Well, I just wanted to respond to Simon a little bit, that he needs to get his facts straight. First of all, you have a pint, perhaps about 4.55%, but in a bottle of wine, it's about 12%. So he's getting it wrong. And like the lady that just got off the phone just mentioned, some women can drink you under the table. And like your first caller said, it's really, really a slippery slope that we're walking through here, because, you know, you're giving more arsenal to women. And some women find that a little bit degrading, saying that, you know, we can't do the same thing as men can do. So we need to really, really put this in perspective. Every individual, sometimes when you have drink in your body, you go out, you think that you're having fun, you walk the walk of shame, and that could lead to something else. But in this day and age, we all say that, you know, what a man can do, a woman can do better. It's all about feminism and all that. So why can't we say, you know, men get raped or sexually assaulted as well? We have to look at it in 2 different ways. You know, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you look at someone and say, oh my God, was I really with this person? Is a man supposed to cry rape? He can't, because of shame. Right? And we can't allow the society to dictate to women to go ahead and do the same constantly. We're giving them more arsenal to go against men. I've never been in this situation, but I do feel bad for some men that actually get done by...
Well, then is Francis' advice not the best advice for men? Don't get with a drunk woman.
Well, how do you know when a woman is really drunk? Perhaps when you are actually talking to that woman, she's coherent, she's talking to you nicely and whatnot. And then perhaps you get to the point where you're on the way home. You guys are in a cab or something, and everybody's happy. You don't really know. But in the middle of the night, maybe she does feel like she's drunk, or maybe you see it. Some men might be able to step back and say, no, I'm not going to do this. Some men might not, because he's already also drunk, right? So how do you know when to stop?
Okay, Simon, how is a man meant to know when to stop? You obviously believe where there's alcohol involved, you shouldn't go near each other, or a man shouldn't go near a woman.
Well, come here, most people should know their limits, and I'd love to bring that fella and that woman into town and show them it's mostly the fellas dragging the girls around, and it's mostly the girls that are absolutely locked, more so than the fellas. That's a fact in town on a Friday night. And yet, most people do know their limits, and most people don't go by them, but they do know them.
Mohammed, people should know their limits, but he still believes that a guy should not go near a woman who is drunk.
What is the reason for the woman to have come out on a night in the first place? She's out there to have fun. It gets out of hand. Okay, same thing with a guy. What I'm trying to say is we need to balance this. I'm not saying that it's right for a man to take advantage the same way a woman would take advantage of a man. So where do we draw the line, right?
Just because you're going out doesn't mean you're going out for sex. You're just going out to hang out with your mates and that. It doesn't necessarily, you're not always looking for sex.
I'm not saying you're always looking for sex. You're looking for a good time. You're looking to have fun, and that fun can escalate to anything, right? So you need to weigh that option. But then you're not going to say that because I didn't go out to have sex and I did have sex, all of a sudden I'm raped. But that is wrong. Totally wrong.
Okay, do you not believe, Mohammed? Well, okay, where do you draw the line? At what stage can a woman no longer consent to sex? And I think this is such a grey area. A woman could be very drunk and doesn't remember a thing then the next morning, and feels that she was violated.
I agree, and I'm not saying that does not happen or that cannot happen, but it happens to men too. I mean, over the years, I've been in situations where I wake up and I'm like, where the hell am I? Right? Am I supposed to shout out and cry rape? No. But what I'm saying is, a woman is out there to have fun. She may be with her friends. I've seen a situation where a woman has actually been with her friends and her friend says, no, let's go. You're not staying with this guy. And she says, no, I'm okay. And you could hear her. She was coherent. But at the end of the day, if she came out to cry rape, what do? You're putting men in a really bad situation. It's just that simple. I'm not an advocate for violence or any of those kind of things. No. But we need to watch how we actually portray this to the community so that women don't look at it like, okay, all of a sudden I didn't really like this guy or it's a different race or something, and all of a sudden she just feels that if I cry rape, it makes it look better on me. You know?
Okay, stay there for 1 second. And there have been cases where a woman has been drunk and the next day or later on feels that she doesn't remember a thing, so therefore she must have been violated. She must have not given consent. And that's the grey area for men, that they still don't know. You could be with a woman who's speaking perfectly well. She's fairly drunk. And she says, yes, I'm up for this. And then she kind of just doesn't remember it the next day. That's the problem. No, sorry. John, you're on 98FM. Hi, John.
How's it going?
Good. John, you've woken up the next day not remembering a thing.
Yeah, like, in my time, I've woken up beside a few monsters and realised how did I get here? And if that man saying that, does that mean that I was right? So I'd be running around, making claims all over the place.
But does it mean that, John? Does it mean that...
I don't remember getting there, so did they bring me there, do you know what I mean? Because I'm with these girls if I had my right state of mind.
Okay, but then I'll ask you another question. Do you feel that you were taken advantage of, that you were raped?
I can't remember, so I don't know. This is the thing. If the girl can't remember, she doesn't know. So why is she making a big deal of it? Because someone saw her leaving the house, or because she woke up beside some creature, you know?
Okay, but in a situation like that where you've been drunk, you know quite well you probably did something with your woman there in the bed beside you.
Especially if you're in the nip.
Yeah, okay, that's a bit of a giveaway. But do you feel walking out of that house with the walk of shame because you realise it was not the sort of woman you'd normally end up in bed with, do you feel you were violated?
No, I bolted out of the house is what I done. Bolted out of there and as quick as I could.
Yeah.
But I didn't go, that thing's after raping me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you don't know, do you know what I mean? So,
okay, so you walk out of the house in that sort of situation
leg it out of the house.
and accept that it was an error of judgment on your part.
Big time. Because either that or else you're going to be saying, right, I'm getting her done for rape. That's the only way it goes. So the girl, she doesn't look at it like that. She just goes, he must have raped me because I can't remember being there.
Well, okay, and is that the difference?
No, I'm not denying the fact that some girls do get raped. I'm not knocking that.
No,
I'm
of course
just saying,
not, no.
If we were to do that, if it was come the other way, sure, that means I've been raped about 5 or 6 times. I mean,
because you've been in a situation where you know you had sex with somebody, but you can't remember it.
Correct.
Okay, but stay there for 1 second. Let me just bring in one last call, and that is Alison. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Alison?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Grand, thanks, Alison. What did you want to say on this?
I think if you're out anymore, and most teenagers now, most people who are in college have been probably going out since they were about, let's say, 15, give or take, to be generous. So about 3 years now. And if you are, I think we all know if we've been out on a night out, you're a bit oblivious if you don't know the absolute difference. There's a difference between being drunk, and having a couple drinks, but you're drunk and you're just throwing yourself into the night, and the people who are paralytic. So if you're trying to chat someone up with hoping to bring them home, if they're not coherent, if they're walking funny, if they haven't, picked their stuff up from the cloakroom, text their friends they're going home, they can't guide the taxi man anywhere, you should know then this person isn't to be able to consent, because they actually can't tell what to do, where to go. They can't remember the smallest things, like bringing a jacket with them. You know what I mean? While I think most people, if they're drunk... Okay, but
hang on, you just heard John, who was on a second ago, and he has said that he's been in a situation maybe 5 or 6 times where he's woken up the next morning, woken up beside a young one, no idea how he got there, no idea what he did, but he just legs it home. Now, was he taken advantage of?
He probably could have been, 100%. Women definitely take advantage of men and hope that... I know some women who have said that they probably wouldn't have a usual shot with a guy, but if they get him really drunk, they'll have a shot. Now, that's the same.
It's the exact same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not right either. So,
but if John here... on the other line were to say to me, I feel violated, I feel I didn't give consent, I feel I was raped, I'll be honest with you, even though he might be right, most people listening would think, would you go way out of that?
Yeah, but it's a man, though, I feel. And
but that's why this is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. John, there is a difference, John, is there?
Oh, there's a massive difference. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's a fact. Like, not 100% of the cases of the girls, when they say this, you're guaranteed maybe 30% is actually could have been raped. But the others is just they can't remember, and I didn't consent to that, so he's after doing wrong with me. So and I guarantee you, there's plenty of men out there, a good 80% that said they've done the same. Woke up and went, oh my God, get me out of here, what's happening here? And they just legged it. They didn't go, oh God, they're getting raped. Do you know what I mean? They just went, they're making a mistake. And with most girls, that's what they've done, they've made a mistake. And some of the girls aren't legless. There's the fellas who bring home girls who can't walk. That's a different story. Then it may be that 100% they're in the wrong. But most of the time, you could be drunk, you could be still able to walk, but you're totally fuzzy upstairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you will not remember doing certain things, and then So I think there's a lot that's down to that as well.
Alison, do you believe that if a guy has sex, like John here, your woman could have been drunk as well, has sex with a woman who's drunk, that he's after violating her?
No, I don't want to go that far. No, because that brand's basically all men.
Yes, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make, because I know most men at one stage or another have had sex with a woman when he was drunk and she was drunk.
Well, yeah, that's mostly, if you go to Harcourt Street, that's mostly how most of the night ends.
Absolutely.
But I think it's also, I think if you're, people that should know their own limits, they should know their own limits, right? But I think there's obviously been cases before where there have been men, and I've seen it myself, who go after the women who are completely out of their mind.
I know, but John has just said the exact same thing happened to him in the opposite. Where he was so drunk he doesn't remember getting there or getting home or anything, just waking up the next day.
Well, this is going back to the core element of like students, and obviously now they're trying to do an awful lot of work with consent workshops and like on campus sexual assaults, trying to make sure to mitigate that and it happen. It's a much deeper issue.
No, I do understand that, but it does show that despite all of these consent classes, a majority of students believe that a woman can consent to sex when she's piddly-eyed.
And I think that boils down to, it's all well and good, but it probably boils down to your attitudes of older brothers and older sisters, or what you grew up with, or, you know, everything like your environment that brought you up to say, like, you know, if they're paralysed and still, because we're only really having this conversation in the last like 10 months, should we say?
Yes,
there was
absolutely.
none of this going on.
So it hasn't filtered through to changing attitudes.
No, like I didn't have this when I was in college. Nobody was talking to us about consent workshops, and you know, you were kind of told, like, you know, here's what an STI is. Here's some free condoms. So
you're what age now, Alison? I'm just curious to see how much things have changed.
I'm 25.
Right,
I graduated 2 years ago. So, like, I entered college, maybe 6 or 7 years ago now.
Okay, and the word consent was never discussed in any way?
No,
in terms of, you know, having classes about it and all that?
No, there was nothing. It was kind of just like, you know, your student union would give you a couple of condoms, and that was basically it. It was kind of like, it wasn't like about like consent. It was about
being
trying not to get an STI or get pregnant. But I think, so obviously if this is like the first wave of people who are kind of coming into something and trying to filter it down to their throats and get it through, that's not going to, it'll probably take a while. But also I think most people, if they're talking about like 3 bottles of wine, most people, I can tell you this much, I had a friend who, I know we're talking about metabolism and height and all, I had a friend who was like a size 22, 24. Like, she was a big girl, and she would have 2 bottles of wine, and she would be on the floor. Like, she'd be falling all over the place. She'd be a mess. She wouldn't be able to consent to absolutely anything. So,
and that's it. Okay, but the guy himself is piddly-eyed.
The guy, if a guy is piddly-eyed, and if you're both paralytic drunk, then that's your own problem. That's your own, you know, you did what you did and you just have to get on and get up with it. But if the guy is kind of drunk, when she was falling over the place, I would say she was taken advantage of, because it'd be obvious she was out of it.
All right, Alison, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for listening to 98FM's Dublin Talks.
98FM's Dublin Talks, weekdays from 10 a.m.